The story opens with Alex going for a morning run around the art college where she is now studying. This routine has become her way of putting her life back together and adjusting to life as a new student. But while she is running, her mind suddenly drifts back to the traumatic events from a few months earlier. The memories come flooding in, from the terrifying moment she was kidnapped, to the time her father fought to save her, to her encounter with Lily, and the horrifying image of being held captive by Stanley. Even so, Alex tries to push those memories away. She keeps telling herself that it is all behind her now, and that all she has to do is live a normal life without constantly being haunted by fear and anxiety. But the past is not done with her yet. This is 1 Mile Chapter 2. After spending several months at art school, Alex's natural talent for painting starts to stand out more and more. But without even realizing it, the trauma from her past seems to guide her brush across the canvas, forming the image of an abandoned water tower, the very same kind of tower that stood at the center of Stanley's settlement. When class ends, Alex walks out of the building with her best friend Carrie. As the two of them talk about plans to attend their friend Tyler's birthday party, Alex suddenly gets a phone call from her father. On the other end, Dany sounds genuinely excited. He can hardly wait to see his daughter, who is planning to fly back home to Canada for the weekend break. Not long after Dany hangs up, his wife Janine comes over and reminds him not to get his hopes up too much about spending quality time with Alex that weekend. According to Janine, Alex usually prefers to spend her time off, either sleeping or catching up with her old high school friends. Even though Dany knows things may not turn out the way he imagines, he still hopes he can at least get a little time with her, even if it is just dinner together or a family movie night. Later that afternoon, Dany meets up with Curtis, an old teammate from his days in Special Forces. During their meeting, Curtis offers him a job as a team leader at a private security company with a salary that is almost too good to ignore. Dany is tempted, but he also feels uncertain because he does not want to disrupt the family life he has only recently managed to rebuild. More than that, his relationship with Alex has finally started getting better. Still, Curtis, who believes Dany is the only man he can truly rely on, asks him to think it over and insists that this is a rare opportunity that may never come again. That night, Janine comes home from work and tells Dany that she will not be able to go with him to pick Alex up from the airport the next day because she has been asked to cover someone else's shift. At the same time, Dany opens up about the job Curtis offered him earlier that day. He admits that even though the pay is excellent, he has serious doubts because taking it would mean spending more time away from his family again. Hearing that, Janine leaves the decision entirely in his hands. But she also makes it clear that if he turns the job down because he wants to be closer to Alex, then maybe it is time for him to look for work that does not require him to leave town. The next day, on the day she is set to fly back to Canada, Alex takes some time to hang out with her friends. They go bowling while she waits for the taxi that will take her to the airport. There is also something else going on beneath the surface. A guy named Justin, one of her classmates, has quietly had feelings for her for a while. But it turns out those feelings are not one-sided. Alex feels the same way, and in that moment, the two of them grow a little closer, carried by the atmosphere. Eventually, the taxi arrives. Alex says goodbye to Justin and gets in, unaware that the driver is someone who has been targeting her all along. Later that same day, Dany, who has been waiting to hear from Alex, finally gets a call from her. But the moment he answers, everything changes. Instead of his daughter's voice, he hears a man on the other end. It is Stanley. Under pressure, Stanley makes it clear that Alex is now in his hands. If Dany ever wants to see his daughter alive again, he has to come alone and meet him, with no police involved. Janine, who overhears everything, immediately panics and urges Dany to call the authorities. But Dany refuses. He knows that involving the police will only make things worse. Someone like Stanley would not hesitate to hurt Alex if he feels the deal has been broken. Trying to keep things under control, Dany reassures Janine. He tells her that he has handled dangerous situations before and promises that he will bring their daughter home safely. After gathering the weapons he needs, Dany wastes no time and heads out toward the meeting point, a remote island where Stanley lives with his cult-like community. Meanwhile, on the island, Alex comes face to face with Lily again, who now has a child. Just like before, Lily urges Alex to stop resisting and simply follow Stanley's rules. She believes there is no escaping him, that he will always find her no matter what. But Alex refuses to accept that. She is confident that her father will come for her and put an end to Stanley and everything he has built. She even promises that she will ask her father to take Lily away from the island. Still, Lily does not seem convinced. She walks away, leaving Alex behind. Alone in the cabin, Alex starts looking around for anything she can use as a weapon, preparing herself while she waits for the moment she knows her father will come. Around the same time, Dany finally arrives at the edge of a forest across from the island. He pauses for a moment to observe the dock, where Stanley's men are standing guard. After removing all the bullets from his pistol, Dany calmly walks toward them and surrenders himself. When he gets there, he lets them take his weapon and even encourages them to check everything he is carrying, making it look like he has nothing to hide. What they do not realize is that the gun is completely empty. Once they report to Stanley that Dany has been disarmed, they are told to bring him across to the island, but things do not go as expected. In a sudden move, Dany fights back and quickly takes down all three of them.
Keep firing.
He then ties their bodies to the side of the boat, making it look from a distance as if they are still going about their duties. Meanwhile, back on the island, a man named Wayne enters the cabin where Lily and her baby are staying. It is revealed that Wayne is Lily's husband. Even though he is part of Stanley's group, he stands out as someone who still thinks for himself. Deep down, he has started to feel uneasy about the extreme beliefs that Stanley has been pushing. Later that afternoon, while Lily is working in the garden with the others, she secretly slips a piece of paper into a gap in the cabin where Alex is being held. The note reveals that Alex's father is nearby, waiting at a small bay near the dock. The moment Alex realizes this, she quickly comes up with a plan. She grabs a fork from a drawer and pretends to be in pain, drawing a guard into the room. As soon as he gets close, she strikes his hand and makes her escape. At nearly the same time, Stanley and several of his men arrive at the dock. Something feels off right away. He tries to contact the men on the boat, but no one responds. As the boat drifts closer, he finally realizes that all three of them have been tied up the entire time. By then, Dany is already gone. He has slipped into the water unnoticed and made his way to the shore. From there, he climbs up toward the settlement, keeping his distance as he studies the area. After observing the layout, he begins sketching a rough map, carefully planning his next move and preparing for what he intends to do once night falls. Not long after Stanley arrives back at the settlement, one of his men reports over the radio that Alex has escaped again. The news immediately sets him off. His anger grows even stronger when he finds a piece of paper on the ground, the same note Lily had secretly given to Alex. From that note, Stanley realizes that Alex is heading toward the bay. At the same time, suspicion starts to fall on Lily. Without wasting any time, he calls both Wayne and Lily to face him and begins questioning them about the note made. At first, Lily tries to deny it, but under pressure, she eventually admits what she did, claiming she only wanted to calm Alex down. Even so, Stanley can tell she is not being truthful, and he decides she needs to be dealt with more harshly to prevent her from making the same mistake again. Wayne cannot stay silent and tries to defend Lily. Instead of helping, it only makes Stanley even more furious. Meanwhile, Alex is still running, being chased through the area by Stanley's men. As they start closing in, she hides beneath the roots of a large tree, hoping to avoid being seen. After a while, she hears a message over the radio, Stanley ordering his men to return to the compound. It sounds like a chance to escape, but it turns out to be a trap designed to draw her out. Not long after, Alex is captured and brought back to the settlement. From a distance, Dany sees his daughter being dragged out of a vehicle, her mouth covered and her hands tied. The sight fills him with anger, but he holds himself back, choosing to wait for the right moment to act. Once inside, Stanley, already fed up with Alex's constant attempts to escape, locks her in a small, confined room. Lily is also placed in a separate room. Soon after, Stanley orders his men to prepare the generator and set up floodlights before nightfall. He is convinced that Dany's already somewhere nearby and will eventually come for his daughter. Later that afternoon, Stanley gathers the entire community and warns them about an outsider who threatens their way of life. He manipulates the situation, telling them that a man named Dany has already killed several of their people, including his own son. With that, he pushes them to stay alert and report any unfamiliar face before more lives are lost. But while everyone is focused on the meeting, Dany quietly slips into the settlement. He makes his way into a workshop and retrieves an airbag inflator, planning to use it as part of an explosive device. Once he has what he needs, he heads back toward higher ground, preparing to set his traps and carry out his plan once night falls. That night, as the generators power up and the floodlights come on, Dany waits patiently for the right moment to move. At the same time, Alex, who had discovered a loose floorboard earlier that day, continues working on it using a small hinge. After all her effort, the board is finally close to coming off. Not long after, Dany makes his move. With the layout already memorized, he slips back into the settlement, carefully avoiding the lights. He enters a workshop and begins setting up traps. Once everything is in place, he quietly leaves and decides to wait until morning to launch his attack. By the next day, Dany is ready. He sneaks back in, takes down 2 guards, and grabs their radios. Soon after, Stanley, who is monitoring the situation, receives a transmission. To his surprise, the voice on the other end is Dany. In that moment, Dany gives him one last chance to hand over his daughter. But Stanley has no intention of backing down. All he wants is Dany gone. With no other option left, Dany sets his plan in motion. He steps out into the open, drawing attention to himself and luring Stanley's men into the workshop where the traps have been set. Moments later, a powerful explosion goes off.
Wait!
Taking advantage of the chaos, Dany begins taking down his enemies one by one. After making his way out of the workshop, he reaches another building, convinced that Alex is inside. As he tries to open the door, a large man suddenly appears. Instead of retreating, Dany reacts instantly and knocks him down with a decisive strike. Around the same time, Stanley comes across one of his unconscious men outside the building. This only adds to his growing unease as Dany's actions become more aggressive and unpredictable. Not long after, Dany overhears a radio message saying that Stanley has left the settlement. Seeing an opportunity, he heads back to rescue Alex. But things do not go as planned. He is captured and locked inside the same room as his daughter. While searching for a way out, Alex shows him the loosened floorboard she had been working on. Thanks to that, they manage to escape and make their way into the forest, where Lily is already waiting. As they prepare to leave the island, Lily suddenly tells Dany that she cannot go with them. She refuses to leave her baby behind, who is still with Wayne. It is then that she reveals the truth. Wayne is not the child's father. Before she was taken, she had been pregnant with her late boyfriend's child, a man named Brandon. Even so, Wayne has always treated her kindly and protected her secret from everyone. He is also the only member of the group who quietly opposes Stanley's beliefs. While Dany creates a distraction to keep the guards occupied, Lily goes to find Wayne. She asks him to come with them and leave the island for good. At first, Wayne hesitates, unsure about a life outside of everything he has known. But in the end, the chance to be free with Lily, the woman he loves, is enough to convince him. He agrees to take the boat key and promises to meet them at the dock once he has it. Meanwhile, Stanley eventually realizes that Alex has escaped from isolation. At the same time, his suspicion turns toward Wayne, whom he now believes has betrayed the community. A middle-aged woman named Abigail tries to speak honestly to him, warning that Dany is far more dangerous than they expected. She suggests they let Alex go and move on, but Stanley refuses to listen. The loss of his son has consumed him, and he no longer sees the damage his obsession has caused. On the other side, Dany, Alex, and Lily manage to get out of the settlement and are on their way to the dock. But just as they are about to leave, a message comes through the radio. Stanley reveals something that changes everything. Janine has been taken. With no other choice, they turn back. Dany tells Alex and Lily to head for the dock while he goes to get his wife. But Alex refuses to leave him behind. She insists on helping, determined to fight alongside her father to save her mother. In the end, Dany agrees, but only after coming up with a plan to keep them both alive. At the same time, Wayne quietly sneaks into Stanley's office to search for the boat key. He rushes through the room, growing more anxious as voices call for him over the radio. His panic builds, and before he can escape, one of Stanley's men walks in and catches him. Wayne is immediately taken and brought before Stanley. Meanwhile, Alex slips into the same office. Inside, she finds a rifle and loads it with a few rounds. But as she tries to leave, Abigail suddenly stops her with a bow aimed straight at her. At the same time, Wayne finds the courage to stand up to Stanley, urging him to do the right thing while there is still time.
And it's not too late to do the right thing.
Right then, Dany steps in and demands that his wife be released. But Stanley has other plans. He intends to take Janine for himself once Dany is gone. He points his gun at Dany and gives him a moment, thinking it will be his last. Dany appears to accept his fate and opens up about how much his family means to him. His words bring Janine to tears. What Stanley does not realize is that Dany is only buying time. And just as Stanley is about to pull the trigger, a shot rings out. The bullet hits him directly, and in that instant, everything comes to an end. Alex is the one who fires, finally putting an end to Stanley. She runs straight to her mother, overwhelmed with relief and emotion. But not everyone gets a happy ending. Lily and Abigail are left grieving Wayne, the man they both loved. It is then revealed that Wayne was actually Abigail's grandson. In the end, with everything finally over, Dany and his family leave the island, taking Lily with them and leaving the nightmare behind. So the moral of the story is, if your life is finally peaceful, maybe double-check your taxi driver, always listen to your trauma paintings, and never underestimate a dad with free time and a full revenge plan.